morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to have a look. This is really important at Toedscruel, the new Toedscruel from Paradox Rift, because things just got really important. Because it turns out this card is a lot more impactful and a lot better than we might have thought it otherwise was. There have been a bunch of rulings that came around from Toedscruel, and I'll be honest with you, it is a little bit weird that these weren't in the FAQ. But then again, the FAQ for Paradox Rift came out before this FAQ came out for Future Flash and Ancient Raw. That is the potential difficulty of when we get our set actually before Japan. The cards for Future Flash and Ancient Raw released for us, we actually got the cards a week later than Japan, but we got the cards a week earlier at our pre-releases, and we always get the FAQ published when we have our pre-release, so even though we got the cards later than Japan, we got the cards earlier than Japan. Glad I could clear that up for you. Obviously, don't forget that we've got a rather ridiculous illustration rare here by Kiichiro Ito, and oh my goodness, it's amazing. But it's all about this ability Slime Mold Colony. There have been a bunch of official rulings made in Japan that really change things up here. It reads, cards in your opponent's discard pile cannot be put into their hand by an effect of your opponent's abilities or trainer cards. And at first, this seemed pretty simple and straightforward, honestly. We looked at this and we went, alright then, sounds cool. Sounds good to me, buddy. Let's move on with our lives. And we looked at stuff like Superior Energy Retrieval, for instance, and we went, turns off Superior Energy Retrieval. That's kind of hilarious. Discard 2 cards from your hand, put 4 basic energy from your discard pile into your hand. Oh no, wait, you can't do that, because Toedscruel kind of stops it. So decks like Chen-Pao Baxcalibur, which rely on attaching a whole bunch of energy with Baxcalibur to smash, well, you can still attach all the energy you want with Baxcalibur, but without being able to actually get them back with Superior Energy Retrieval, that massively dents that deck. And certainly, in the new set, we've got Goldengo. Very similar kind of thing. Goldengo lets you discard any number of basic energy from your hand, deal 50 for each one you discarded, but the point is that in order to keep discarding those cards over and over again, you are going to need to keep getting them into your hand over and over again. And how do you get them into your hand over and over again? Boom! Superior Energy Retrieval. So we looked at this card and we went, stuff like that is going to be very relevant. This is actually a playable card. So stage 1, it's a nice tech. It really helps you out against Chen-Pao and Goldengo. There's going to be some other incidental uses as well, but that was generally our conclusion. Really good against stuff like Chen-Pao and Baxcalibur. It's going to help you out against some others. It's a decent tech. And then Japan went and posted a bunch of their rulings. And I need to give a shout out to lovely Antoine Boulet for bringing this to my attention, because the first one that came around was with Pokestop. And it's actually one of those where, kind of annoyingly, if you read the card, oh yeah, of course it works like that. Like, if you just read the card, of course it works like that. But we didn't read the card. And until Antoine posted this, nobody was talking about this. Which makes me think no one had read the card, and I'll hold my hands up here. I'm as guilty as all of you. I hadn't read the card either. Because if we read Pokestop, the wording here is really specific. It reads, once during each player's turn, that player may discard 3 cards from the top of their deck. If a player discarded any item cards in this way, they may put those cards into their hand, i.e., you discard the cards and then you put them from your discard pile into your hand. Except you can't. Because Toedscruel stops you doing that. Because Toedscruel says cards in your opponent's discard pile cannot be put into their hand using their abilities or trainer cards. And it might be a stadium, but it's still a subset of trainer card. So it absolutely would turn off your Pokestop. Now, here's what's hilarious about Toedscruel. It doesn't stop your opponent using Pokestop. It doesn't stop your opponent discarding cards with Pokestop. That all works perfectly. What it stops your opponent doing is getting the cards back into the hand, those item cards, after having discarded them. So Pokestop turns into, once during your opponent's turn, they may discard 3 cards from the top of their deck. That's what it does for your opponent. Now here's a hilarious thing about Pokestop. As the Toedscruel player, yeah, you can use the Pokestop just fine. I would recommend against using Pokestop if you are playing Toedscruel for obvious reasons, but you can use your opponent's, because Toedscruel stops your opponent putting cards from their discard pile into their hand. Doesn't do anything to you. So if I'm playing Toedscruel and my opponent drops a Pokestop, for them it discards the top 3 cards of their deck and you laugh. For you, it just works like normal. That's kind of amazing. If you play Toedscruel, I feel extremely confident that your opponent will, at some point, play a Pokestop, because it's a well-played card. A lot of people play it. And they are not going to realise this ruling, and that's going to be kind of funny. Obviously, some players will realise the ruling. I'm willing to bet not everybody. That's one of the reasons for this video. I want to make sure as many people as possible know about this ruling. It's very important. And if your opponent says, no, it doesn't, that's not how Toedscruel Pokestop works, tell him your old pal Wassy sent ya. As a side note, I suppose I should say, this is an official ruling made in Japan. We've not had an English ruling to this effect yet, as far as I am aware, but this is 100% how it would work. And you don't need a ruling here. You don't need a ruling. Because as I told you a minute ago, look at the wording of the cards. It should be obvious. Toedscruel stops cards in your discard pile going into your hand, and Pokestop puts cards into your discard pile and then into your hand, but the second they hit the discard pile, they're stopped. Now, we can compare this with another ruling that was made, Skater Park. It's again a stadium card, and again a similar kind of thing. But there is a huge difference. Whenever either player's active Pokemon retreats, put any basic energy that would be discarded into their hand instead of the discard pile. And you can hear I'm very much emphasizing the relevant phrases. This is a very, very, very different card, because it very, very clearly states you do not put the energy into the discard pile, and that's the point here. That is the gigantic difference. When we're talking about Pokestop, the cards go into your discard pile, at which point Toedscruel stops them coming out. When it comes to Skater Park, the cards never hit the discard pile, so there's nothing going wrong there. There's nothing to stop, because they never hit the discard pile, so they can't be stopped coming out of the discard pile because they were never in the discard pile in the first place. That is how you can really tell whether Toedscruel is going to stop this or not. The question is, do the cards ever actually hit the discard pile? If they do, Toedscruel stops them coming back. If they don't, Toedscruel is powerless. There are a couple of other rulings which are just kind of funny that you need to know about. Darkrai EX. No, lying to you. Darkrai V-Star. There we go. Now, this is one. It's got the V-Star ability Star Abyss. During your turn, you may put up to 2 item cards from your discard pile into your hand. Now, the question of whether you can get the item cards using the V-Star power, that should be pretty obviously no. That's not controversial even a little bit. Obviously, you can't get them back. That is one of the real bread and butter things that Toedscruel was designed to stop. Getting cards from your discard pile back into your hand. So the fact that it stops Darkrai isn't a big deal. The fun thing is, your opponent has still used their V-Star power. Yep. So what happens is, your opponent announces their V-Star power. They're not actually allowed to do anything, but the V-Star power has been used. Essentially what it says on the rulings here is, the effect ends with the V-Star marker on the back, which I find very, very funny. This makes me very, very happy. There was one other ruling we need to know about here, which is also kind of funny, and that is to do with superior energy retrieval. Can I use it while they're there trying to stop me? And the answer is, yes you can. Discard 2 cards from your hand and finish processing the effect. Basically, if you try playing superior energy retrieval with Toedscruel, you discard 2 cards from your hand, then you go to put basic energy. Oh, I can't get the basic energy back. Gutted. Obviously, you cannot use superior energy retrieval to get the cards back. That was never in question, but the ruling over on the Japanese site basically says, well, can I use it? And the answer is, yes, you can use superior energy retrieval, but, yeah. you can't actually really do very much, unfortunately, because you discard 2 cards from your hand, and then it finishes. Gutted. And I've seen a little bit of discussion on Twitter and other places about this Toedscruel. And some people are starting to take this a little bit seriously. Because I've told you for a while now that Toedscruel EX is actually pretty gosh darn good. It's basically exactly the same as Espeon from Fusion Strike, except it's got lower HP, but it only gives up 2 prizes, so, it's kind of, call it a draw, I suppose. Although I should say the card, it kind of, I suppose, technically from Evolving Skies, but then again, the really fancy cool version was from Fusion Strike, and that's blatantly the version I popped up on the screen, so yes, obviously I know it was originally released in Evolving Skies, I'm fully aware of that, but the best version was released in Fusion Strike, so, take it how you will. Point is, they've got the same ability here that says effects from your opponent's attacks are all prevented from all of your Pokemon with any energy attached. It's a really good ability. And now you can actually put these together. They're on the same evolution line. And obviously, effective attacks, you've basically got special conditions. You've got discarding energy. And then you've got instant one-hit KOs. And instant one-hit KOs just got a lot more relevant because Roaring Moon just came out. So instant one-hit KOs actually just got a lot bigger, and preventing them just got a lot more important because of Roaring Moon. So maybe there's a Toedscruel deck to be made. I mean, On Guard TV have suggested playing it with Fortress. That could be fun. I've told you many times about how fun Fortress is. But regardless of exactly how you play it here, I really like the idea that we've now got both of these cards coming off the same evolution line, and being able to play around with them sounds like fun. More importantly, this new Toedscruel is a good card. And these abilities are very important, and there are some people out there who will be confused about them. PTCG Live does not do the Pokestop one properly as I record this video. Not terribly surprising. Hopefully it will be fixed. For now, I want to know what you think about Toedscruel. I want to know if you think it's legit. I want to know anything you want to tell me, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at Lawasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely Evan Parker, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far, the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.